Myself, Mahazakriya Panakal from 3rd BHMS AHMC Mangalore. A warm welcome to another session of Clinical Webinar Diaries Season 2, hosted by Student Council of Alvas Homeopathic Medical College, Mangalore, powered by Advent Biotech Private Limited. We are super excited about the session we'll get to have today on the topic second prescription. Here we have an amazing, young, dynamic homeopath, Dr. Yashika Arora, an alumni of NHMC Delhi, currently pursuing MD from DKMHMC Aurangabad. Dr. Yashika Arora is an achiever of STSS scholarship program organized by CCRH Delhi titled Efficacy of Homeopathic Medicines in the Treatment of Alopecia areata for a period of 6 months under CCRH in the year 2015-16. Dr. Yashika Arora is a versatile speaker who has presented in various national platforms. She has also proven to be an efficient writer and co-editor and has published several articles for several magazines and journals, to name a few like New Life Era, The Homeopathic Heritage, Homeo Miracle, Homeopathic Journal, Homeopathic Links, and the list goes on. She is a home blogger too at She and Her Trust website. She is a winner in several essay writing competition and is an awardee of Certificate of Excellence by Dr. Lal Singh Foundation. She has also bagged the Appreciation Award by Board of Homeopathic System of Medicines, Delhi, in the year 2018. She won the Homeopathic Icon Award by Delhi Homeopathic Federation in 2019 and Young Homeopath Oration Award by South Delhi Homeopathic Association in Ken's Memorial Lectures. Dr. Yashiga is in fact a young dynamic homeopath, organizer of webinars, regular CMEs, and seminars in Delhi and all over India with various homeopathic associations. Ma'am, we are indeed honored to have you with us today. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am. I also welcome our principal, Dr. Praveen Raj, Vice Principal, Dr. Roshan Pindo, and AO, Dr. Preknya Alva, who have been a constant support for us. Not least of all, I welcome all the attendees who are joining us today for the session. A hearty welcome to all. Have a good time ahead. Over to you, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you so much, Dr. Mahazakaria. I am so thankful to Alva Homeopathic Medical College, Bangalore, as well as Advent Biotech Private Limited for giving me the opportunity to present my views again on this platform. So I'm really thankful to Manish, to all his team, everybody who has been continuously working hard for organizing these webinars and as well as updating people about the homeopathic knowledge through these webinars and giving me the opportunity, thinking about me that I am capable enough to take such a session again on this platform. So thank you everybody. Thank you principal sir. Thank you vice principal sir for giving me the opportunity. So I will just begin the session. I think people are being waiting for the session. So I will, without wasting time, I will begin the session. I would share my screen. So my screen is clear. Manish, is my screen clear?
Yes, ma'am. We can see the screen, ma'am.
Okay. Do I need to do anything else to like there were marks and all, everything is coming, like I need to remove anything?
No, ma'am. It's perfect.
Or is it done?
It's done already, done, ma'am.
Okay, so
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So I will begin the session. Today's topic for me is second prescription. So Manish is always excited about organon of medicine, and whenever he talks to me, he always says that yes, ma'am, you have to take organon of medicine. While I try my level best to convince him that I will take some materia medica, something medicine part, something case part, but he always he convinces me to take organon of medicine because I feel that though people require the knowledge of organon as well as all of the subjects. Yes, organon is the base of everything. Whatever we are practicing today, if we do not follow organon, so we cannot become a successful homeopath. As per the guidelines of Master Hahnemann. So today's topic for me is again related to organon, that is second prescription. So I will just begin the session with the introduction that what is actually the role of a homeopath when a case comes to him or a patient comes to him, what is actually his role. As a physician, what you should do is you need to take a complete case. Then what do you do is you build up a portrait of the disease, take the totality, take all the symptoms of the case, And then you rule out the minimum remedy. You work hard, repertorize with the knowledge of materia medica and the repertory and organon of medicine. You come up to a minimum remedy, and then you prescribe the patient. That is the first prescription which you do to the patient. That is the first remedy which you give to the patient after taking the complete case as per the guidelines, as well as building the portrait as your knowledge is as far as your knowledge goes. So when you do the first prescription, so the best see, everybody says that a half if you take a case absolutely right, so you half of the work is being done. Dr. Elizabeth Wright has mentioned this, that complete case which is being taken is half cured. So when you take the complete case and form the portrait of the disease, half of your work is done. And then when you form the minimum remedy, around 60% of your work is complete. But but the 40% part, to cure the case, to treat the patient, to result in cure, so that the patient restores, the sick is being restored to the health. So what happens is the 40% part come out, that is the follow-up part. So for what is actually follow-up part? For if a physician does not do a good follow-up, if he does not follow the case well, he does not do the second prescription or the rest of the prescriptions, if he's not right in doing second prescription, or he's not doing it as per the guidelines, then he may miss that case. So you should remember that you may do maximum of the part of the case by complete case taking, by complete knowledge of portrait of the disease, by taking out the minimum remedy through best of your knowledge. But second prescription matters very much, because you need to know what is really happening and what actually happened after you prescribe the remedy which you thought to be the minimum remedy. Sometimes it happens ki, there are many things, like you need to know that whether the patient got aggravated, whether the patient got ameliorated, whether the patient got relief of symptoms or the recurrence of original symptoms. So there are many factors that what is actually going on with the patient. So you need to know about it, that what is actually going on with the patient. That will come out when you prescribe him well. So what happens is, let us just revise in short what is actually the definition of second prescription as per the aphorisms. So prescription made each time the patient comes for the follow-up, it is the second prescription, and the previous prescription to it is the previous the previous to it is the previous prescription, and whatever you prescribe after your first prescription or after the patient comes for the follow-up is the second prescription. So it is always made when the first prescription or the previous prescription has acted completely. Any remedy prescribed after the earlier one is known as second prescription, whether it's the first remedy, whether it's the first follow-up day or the second follow-up day or the third follow-up day, it is known as second prescription. So you should remember this, and you should remember the second point, that is the remedy should have acted completely once you are prescribing the next remedy, the next dose. So it is a very tedious task. It is a very difficult task homeopath to decide a second prescription, because in case you are hurried, in case you are very much busy, or in case you do a wrong second prescription, it can spoil the whole case. Whatever case taking you have done, whatever best minimum you have brought in, irrespective of it, you may spoil the case if you do not do the right prescription at the right time. So you should have patience. As a homeopath, you should have patience. This is being mentioned in the aphorism number 98 by Master Hahnemann, that you should have patience, you should have confidence in the previous prescription. These are the qualities which Master have told us, and we should gain proper knowledge of organon, and we should be so much firm, so much permanent on it, that we whatever we are prescribing, you should be you should have this firmness in your decision in your first prescription before making any prescription. So you should be firm enough to decide the second prescription, and do not make it in a hurry, otherwise you may spoil the case. So what is the logic behind the second prescription? Sorry. So when you talk about the second prescription, sorry, second prescription, similimum remedy, whatever similimum you have prescribed or told to the patient, you may have produced certain effects. That remedy must have produced certain effects. So second prescription is whenever you have observed the symptoms which are coming up when your remedy has acted, and it is very much important for the treatment of the sick, and it may be a savior for the patient that may be resulting in cure, or it may spoil the case that it may become incurable disease. So what is actually, as a person, what is more beautiful? So more beautiful is to look upon what is more beautiful. This is a saying which I have written, than the bud during hourly changes to the rose in its bloom. So whenever a rose blooms, from the bud, it's always so beautiful to look upon how it unfolds, how it comes out, how it blooms out. So similar case happens with the case when you are a homeopath, when you are dealing with a case as a homeopath. So whatever symptoms are occurring after your prescription, after your remedy, whether it's the first dose or it's the second dose, whatever return symptom image is coming up, unfolding the knowledge. So what happens is, which we know that the first prescription was whether a palliative, whether it was a savior for the patient. So you get to know that whether the remedy was deep enough to cure all the deranged, vital or wrong, or simply it was just a superficially a remedy that produced a temporary effect. So you know how that symptom image which was on the first day of the patient that bloomed out into second image, when the patient came to you for the second visit. So you should remember this, that whether your remedy has been deep enough or whether your remedy has superficially acted. So when a case comes to you and the remedy is being prescribed, there are many questions in the mind of a homeopath. As a student, if he's a student or just a pass out, or in fact, even senior practitioners have this doubt that how long shall I wait and watch? This is the first thing, that patience is there. So you need to wait and watch the case. How is it improving? How is it aggravating or ameliorating? So you have many questions, that whether a remedy is still acting, is the vital reaction still affected by the impulse of the remedy, is the vital force responding, the body's vital force is responding, or if the symptoms are returning, how long we should wait and watch before taking the necessary action to act, or we should when to give the medicine. Is the disease acute? Is the disease chronic? Why is the second prescription so much difficult than the first one? Because this is the most important aspect, because second prescription may spoil the case or may cure the case. So there are so many questions. Why is it that so many patients are benefited when first going to the physician and thereafter derive no benefit? There comes a doubt, no, that I have given the right remedy, a right minimum is being given, patient improved, patient came back to me and I repeated the remedy, or I did something else, or I changed the remedy, I did the complementary remedy or the cognate remedy, I did some other thing, that the patient is not now improving. This is a very big question which comes to every practitioner, in fact me myself, that first visit with a patient was having very much benefit after my remedy, now he is deriving no benefit. So these are few of the questions that are answered in the organon of medicine by master already. So he has already mentioned in the aphorisms number 272 to 277 the guidelines for second prescription. What are the principles you need to observe? You need to interpret the remedy response, whether it's a favorable response or whether it's an unfavorable response, whether it's aggravating or whether it's moderating. So two of the authors have wonderfully told about these remedy responses, and we won't be discussing on this because this is again a different topic, and it would take another 2 hours. So Dr. Kent, as everybody knows, Dr. Roberts, Dr. Konstantin Herring, three of them have interpreted the effects of prescription. We already studied Dr. Roberts' remedy response in his book, Dr. Ken's 12 observations, and Dr. Herring's law of cure. So these are few of the things like the 12 responses that were being codified by Dr. Ken: prolonged aggravation and final decline of the patient, long aggravation but slow improvement, aggravation quick with rapid improvement to the patient, no aggravation with recovery of the patient. Amelioration comes first and aggravation afterwards. Full-time amelioration, get no relief. So some patient improve some patient improve every remedy they get. They are idiosyncratic patients. Action of the remedy on the provers. New symptoms appearing after the administration of remedy, that is a bad prognosis. Again, when old symptoms are about to reappear, this is a very good prognosis. So symptoms take a wrong direction. So this is a very bad prognosis. So these are some of the 12 responses which are being codified by Dr. Kent, and Dr. Herring also have mentioned about the favorable direction of cure. Everybody knows Herring's law of cure. So we know that the complaints improve from above downwards. They disappear from within outwards, like, and from inside to outwards they would disappear, from the vital organs to the outer parts of the body. And then from a more important organ to the less important organ, like firstly the kidney would become better, the heart would become better, and then your skin would become better in the reverse order of their occurrence. So how they occurred in the reverse order, they'll be cured. So these are few of the things. So you need to be attentive enough that whether the old original symptoms disappeared, there are new symptoms. Yeah, what is the patient feeling better? Is the patient feeling bad? If a moderation comes, then aggravation follows. What is incorrect prescription? And patient develop new symptoms. So these are few of the questions and everything which occur to the mind. So you need to be attentive enough, and you should know this thing that the essential of prescribing is equally important, as well as the selection of second prescription depends on the follow-up you have done. So you need to note according to Ken's 12 observations. You should have knowledge. You should have knowledge of Herring's law of cure. You should know what was the frequency on the first visit of the patient, what was the frequency on the second day of the patient, the intensity, the duration, the change in signs and symptoms, as well as the investigations. So one must know all these things when you need to make a second prescription. And when you gain all these remedies and you administer the remedy, you get to know that these are some of the things coming up. This is just same as Ken's 12 observations which occur. So you should inquire when you have all these knowledge, when the patient comes to you for the second visit. So you should inquire, first of all, how does the patient feel in general? What is the feeling of the patient? What do you feel? You should ask. How are you feeling? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling bad? Are you feeling worse? Whatever is your feeling, tell me what happened within 1 week, within 3 days, within 2 weeks, whatever the patient is coming after your second prescription. So has there any degree of energy which is being affected? So you should ask the patient, what is the degree of energy? Like, what was the intensity on the first visit, on what is the intensity today? Whether it's increasing or decreasing, this is actually, this doesn't matter, because it depends whether the patient is aggravating. If you call the patient in 3 days and he says, I got some aggravation, so that may be homeopathic aggravation. So it doesn't matter that if the patient is moderating or aggravating. Accordingly, you will make the second prescription. Has the degree of energy been affected? The third question which you should ask to the patient is, has there been any change in the physical chief complaints? Has there been change? So first, you asked about the mental thing of the patient. How is the patient feeling? What is the intensity now? Then the physical complaints, how they are improving. What about the mental and the emotional pain? And is there any appearance of new or some old symptoms that the patient may be accustomed to, like the accessory symptoms? Or maybe some old symptoms which were there on the first, when the disease started, and now when the patient came, it was not there. So you should ask all these questions to the patient. When you've asked and got the results, what the patient is saying, you should have different approaches. When you're dealing with acute disease, you should have a different clinical approach. When you're dealing with the chronic disease, you should have a different approach. So when you talk about the acute disease, clinical approach during the acute disease, you should ask the patient if the patient is having quick relief in short time. So acute case may, whenever the patient comes to you, he wants quick relief in very short time. That is very urgent to give him as a physician, whether you are allopath, whether you are a homeopath, anybody who is there. If a patient is coming to you in an acute phase, in an acute problem, the patient needs relief. If he is having excessive pain due to renal stone, you need to give him relief. You need to give him some relief. So what is this? You cannot wait and watch at this point of time. This is in acute disease, you cannot wait and watch. You need to repeat the remedy. So you will be repeating the remedy in the acute phase many times at frequent intervals, every 2 hours, every half an hour, every 3 hours, or even in minutes if it's required urgently. So you should note this, that if the patient is an acute problem, you can repeat the remedy. You don't need to wait and watch. And if the patient is not improving rapidly, but it is rather reversing, you should retake the case, take out again a similimum, and then prescribe it. So you should not wait and watch in the acute phase, because the patient needs immediate relief, varna he'll go away from you. So that doesn't mean you spoil the case. That doesn't mean you spoil the case. You need to take the case completely and prescribe the accurate similimum. But if the patient is not improving, retake the case and try to select the more accurate similimum. So this was about acute disease. When you talk about chronic disease, so you need to follow these 3 rules. That is the wait and watch policy, the repeat when the remedy is to be repeated, or when the remedy is to be changed. So there are 3 things that matter in a chronic disease. When you are curing a chronic disease, you should wait and watch. You need to wait and watch after the first prescription. How you need to wait and watch? You can prescribe a placebo to the patient for his satisfaction, and you need to give him enough time you need to give enough time to the prescribed remedy to act, and so that the vital force respond to that remedy, whatever it is given. So when in a first case, if there is no change in the symptoms or general condition, restudy the case. Remember, restudy the case if there is no change. Do not change or repeat the remedy unless very urgent. These are few of the pointers I'm telling you. Do not change or repeat unless very urgent. Wait and watch, prescribe placebo. Some will increase or decrease, or new ones may appear. What happens is either the patient will have no change, you need to retake the case. Either the patient will show increased aggravation of symptoms, either the patient will show amelioration of symptoms, or he may show new symptoms occurring. So these are four things which you show, or he may show new old symptoms appearing. So these are few of the things you need to wait and watch what is actually the remedy doing. And how long should you wait? The question arises here. How long should you wait? So how you need to wait. It may be days, it may be months, it may be. It doesn't matter. That matters not. Wait longer. As you see the patient is improving, you need to wait. As you see the patient is showing all symptoms reappearing, you need to wait. Don't prescribe. Don't repeat. Don't change the remedy, because the change of remedy or the repetition of remedy may spoil the case. So what Dr. Kent has told us, the finest curative action he has ever observed was begin 60 days after the administration of a single dose. So Dr. Kent has mentioned in his in his philosophy, which we study in our syllabus. So the finest curative action जो Dr. Kent has seen is after 60 days. And the curative action may become as the long-acting drug can produce symptoms on the healthy body. So we have boric. Everybody studied from boric. So you can see on the end chapter, in the end of the book, you have a table of drug relationship. So there you can see that there are timings mentioned, how long the remedy acts on the body. So there are 7 to 8 days in some remedies. There are 30 days in some remedies. There are deep acting remedies if you talk, and there are 2 months when the remedy may show symptoms, still show symptoms. So it may take as many days, but you need to be patient enough to see the patient, to wait and watch the patient. So you should not ignore concordances as mentioned by Master Dr. Bonninghausen, as well as no intelligent prescription can be made without the knowledge. See, if a patient is coming to you already he's taking a homeopathic remedy from some different doctor, and he's coming to you for the second prescription, and you know that he already took a remedy from a homeopath. So don't prescribe. Don't prescribe intelligently without knowing the last prescription. You should know the last prescription, which try your level best. I know in clinical practice there are some limitations, and you do not there are some factors where you may not get to know the last remedy by few homeopaths who don't tell, but try to know what was the last prescription of homeopathic as well. So the proper time to change is when the demonstration is clear that the present remedy has already done its part. When the present remedy has already done its part, now it's making no more changes. This is the time for next prescription. The last appearing symptom shall be the guide to the next remedy. This is being told by Dr. Kent in his chapters Checking Prescription. The last appearing symptom shall be the guide to the next remedy. So you should know that the acute for example, he has quoted the acute expressions of a chronic disease have a different management from a chronic acute disease. Like when you face a patient who is having some chronic disease, diabetes or something, and he faces something acute expression like he is having polyuria, that's an acute expression, some symptom, or he may have weight loss, or he may have weakness. So some of these symptoms you see, so that should be managed differently, and acute disease should be managed differently. A child who is suffering from bronchitis in every cold weather, it should be treated differently because he's a case of a bronchitis. And if your child is coming to you just with normal cough, so you should treat him differently. So when you need to repeat, see, you got to know how much time you should take, what is the time to change the remedy, or what is the time to prescribe again the remedy. Now you need to know what actually you can do in the second prescription. Either you repeat the remedy, wait and watch we already saw. Now you need to know the repetition of the remedy, and then you will get to know when to change the remedy. So I'm going to tell you what all you need to do. So first of all, this is the first thing is repetition of first remedy. So when you need to repeat the first remedy is to be repeated when already the first prescription has acted completely. Symptoms are returning to the original state. So see what symptoms the patient came to you and what was the beginning of the disease symptom. So when the patient comes back to that original state, whether in the less severe form or in the more severe form, whether he may say, see the patient when comes to you, when you have given the right prescription, so he may say that मेरे को ऐसे पहले भी होता था, I used to feel all this before also, but not in so much high intensity. Or he may say that doctor, I had this feeling, I had these symptoms before also, but in less severe form. They were not very much severe. This time they have been irritating me so much. So this is the time when you need to prescribe or repeat the remedy. You have done a correct prescription. Don't change the remedy. Just note this. Don't change the remedy if the old symptoms are reappearing. This is a good sign. So never change the remedy. So when you talk about no symptoms, second category may be no symptoms. When there are no symptoms or very decreased in intensity symptoms, she's not feeling well. The patient is not feeling well, completely well, and not improving further. And you have already waited for long, and you think there are no guiding symptoms, no further improvement. This is the time you can repeat the remedy. So you can repeat the remedy. If the remedy still not acts, you can raise the potency. The second thing is the potency increase. So Dr. Kent has also mentioned about the law of series, which many of you must be knowing that law. Dr. Kent has mentioned law of series, that when the first when 30 potency is not acting and you think the remedy is fine, you can go to the higher potency 200, then 1M. Then this series of potencies, when you follow, you may cure the patient. So this is the law of series by Dr. Kent, which you should know. And this comes as a question also for students, whoever are attending the webinar. For students, this is a question again. What is law of series by Dr. Kent? So if a remedy has benefited the patient, never leave it. Don't leave it. You can increase its potency, but don't leave that remedy. So next is you got to know when to repeat the remedy. Now next is the thing, you need to change the remedy. When you need to change the remedy. So when is the time that you will have a need to change the remedies? When striking new groups of symptoms appear. So this is the bad prognosis that the remedy was incorrect, and there is a need to change the remedy. Now I will tell you how you need to change the remedy. Don't worry. So when the symptoms of the patient are changed and he's not improving generally, see, the new symptoms have appeared and the patient is now not improving. This is the time you need to change the remedy. The first remedy was wrong, it was not right, and that has not acted well. When after the first prescription you have waited long, there is no change of symptoms, retake the case. Retake the case, select a more correct similimum with that presenting totality of symptoms, and then prescribe the patient. If you think when a higher potency of the remedy has been tried and it's not showing any benefit, that means the medicine has done all it could do. That means that remedy won't be beneficial anymore. You need to retake the case. To the new presenting totality, you need to prescribe the correct similimum. So what you need to change the remedy? What all you can do in the changing of the remedy is either you may antidote, either you may give the complementary remedy, either you may give the cognate remedy, either you may give an alternate remedy. So there are many things you must know for the second prescription. The first thing is the antidote. See, when you have to antidote is very important when the appearance of new symptoms have occurred and the symptom intensity is so high that the patient cannot bear it. So you need to antidote it. If the new symptoms are not of much intensity, you may leave the patient for a few days, and within I think 6-7 days the patient will come back to his original state. That symptoms, whatever happened, mild symptoms. Otherwise, if the intensity would have been great, you need to antidote the first prescription. Restudy the case. If the old symptoms are appearing, wait. New symptoms not belonging to the pathogenesis. If there are new symptoms which do not belong to the disease, neither they belong to the old symptoms of the patient, antidote immediately. Take the case again. Prescribe on new original symptoms. So you should select a more accurate prescription, a correct similimum. Or you can do is when the patient is improving. See, second case comes. This was when the patient is you have spoiled, not spoiled the case, I would say. You have given the wrong prescription, so you need to antidote. You must know this thing that you have done wrong and you should antidote it immediately. But when the patient is improving, see, the first prescription, if it relieves the patient for the first time, but repeatedly the same symptoms are coming again and again, and the patient is not getting permanent relief. So this is the time when the complementary remedy would act. So because that complementary remedy would complete the action of its first remedy. So you should know that what are the relationship, what are the concordances which are being mentioned by Dr. Bonninghausen and is being given in every drug, in all materia medica you study. So in all the source books, whether it's Boric, whether it's Ken's, you must know that what is the complementary remedy. Like you can say calcarea carb is the chronic of belladonna. So when you have given belladonna in acute phase and the patient is relieved, but he's not getting permanent relief, prescribing calcarea carb and you will cure the case. Similarly, if you think pulsatilla has improved the patient in the acute phase, but the patient is not getting permanent relief, prescribe silicea it will cure the case. So you should know this thing. Second, we come to the cognates remedy. Cognate is the very important thing. We should know these are few remedies which are very closely related to each other. And see, these are the remedies that you cannot differentiate. See, you will think a case comes to you and you think this may be sulfur also, this may be calcarea also, this may be lycopodium also. Or you may think this may be causticum also, this may be stapes aureus also. Or this may be sepia also or nux vomica also. So these are few of the relations that a medicine always leads to one of its cognates. That is the very much closely related to each other. The symptoms are very much closely related to each other. So that like the relationship we study, the trio of sulfur, calcarea, carb, and lycopodium is a very good example of this cognate remedy. That sulfur is being followed well by calcarea, and calcarea is being followed well by lycopodium. Similarly, lycopodium is being followed by sulfur. So this is the relationship that they lead to. Or sepia and nux vomica are very much correlated, which Dr. Kent has also mentioned in his book. And causticum, colocin, stapes aureus follow each other very well. So this is, you should know that when you need to change the remedy, when you need to prescribe the complementary remedy or the cognate remedy. So you should know this. And when to change the plan of treatment. The fourth thing comes is the change of plan of treatment. This comes when you are dealing with chronic cases and you are prescribing anti-miasmatic remedy. So what happens is when you have prescribed the remedy, the anti-psoric remedy, and when you prescribe the anti-psoric remedy, sometimes the patient may show psychotic features. He may lead to some of the psychotic symptoms, and the next visit shows you psychotic symptoms that the patient is going for going towards psychosis. Or you may see syphilitic patients. So that this is the time you need to change the plan of treatment. You need to change the anti-psoric treatment to the anti-syphilitic treatment or to the antipsychotic treatment. So this is the change of plan of treatment you can do. The fifth thing which comes is the change of potency. When the response with one potency like 30 is not working anymore, and you think that the patient has this right minimum, you have cracked the right minimum, and the patient is not improving, prescribe him the higher potency of that remedy, and you can see the changes. Because if with the higher potency also there is a state which comes that no longer it acts, then you can go for its higher potency like 200 to 1M, 1M to 10M. And if you think the remedy has done it all, then go for the retaking of the case and accordingly prescribe the remedy that you feel that the right remedy is. So you can also go for intercurrent remedies. Intercurrent is a very good for homeopathic practitioners. Is a very good feature which is being given. That is remedy when you have prescribed, when you have chosen a very good simillimum remedy and you feel that it is absolutely right. So but that is not producing a favorable effect. So there is something missing in the case that is not curing the patient. So prescribe him a suitable anti-miasmatic remedy, or you may prescribe him an intercurrent remedy. Intercurrent may be a nosode, it may be anti-miasmatic or a chronic remedy of the earlier one, like Bellod or whatever the chronic of first remedy was. You may have three things. Well, in my practice, I've seen nosodes acting very beautifully as intercurrent: Syphilinum, Basilinum, Tuberculinum. These are some of the Sorinum. These are Medorinum again. Medorinum and PCOD cases, I've seen beautiful results with while using as intercurrent. So these are few. This is one of very good thing when you feel that the remedies your remedy is absolutely right, but the patient is not responding well. So go for an intercurrent nosode, go for an anti-miasmatic remedy, and then see the wonders what homeopathy shows to you. So like for example, Dr. Kent has mentioned is sulfur also. In acute cases, when a well-selected remedy fails, sulfur often clears the case. And when it comes to chronic cases, Sorinum clears the case. Similarly, for tuberculosis, you may go for Tuberculinum as the intercurrent remedy. For cancer, you may go for Carcinosinum as intercurrent remedies. So there are many remedies which may help to improve the patient. But do remember the stage of the patient. Don't give carcinosin when the stage of the patient is not right. You may bring him more prone to death. So do take the case completely. Do know the pathology of the case. Then only prescribe the intercurrent remedy accordingly. Or you may alternate the remedies. There are very many alternating remedies which alternate each other. So you can go for alternate remedies as well. So we'll discuss what are the remedies that alternate or follow each other, or they are the complementary to each other. So we already studied that calcarea is a chronic of belladonna as well as rustox. When you talk about natramur is very much similar to apis. Silicea is very much apis and ignatia, and silicea is very much similar to pulsatilla. Like sulfur is to aconite, very good relationship of sulfur to aconite. And when pulsatilla has been of great service in a given case, you may go for silicea. This is being quoted by Dr. Kent, that the relationship of pulsatilla and silicea. Similarly, causticum and phosphorus, so beautiful remedies I've seen, which do not work after each other, which do not like to work after each other, nor they do well after rustox, because causticum is, you may see them like there is a respiratory problem and you think that this is phosphorus, and then you feel that this is causticum. So don't follow them each other. They are not good to work after each other. So do remember this. And then we come to this is the table I was talking about in Boric. Materia Medica is being given in many other books, like in Boring Austin you will also find BBCR. So this is the remedy, like they have given the medicine, antidote relations, they have given the collateral relations, they have given the compatible, what are compatible remedies, what are complementary remedies, what are inimical remedies, and like causticum and phosphorus, we have seen what are similar remedies that follow well. And in the boric, one more column is being given of the duration of action of the remedies. So you will get to know from that duration of action that till when you can wait, till what time you can wait for deep acting remedies as well as acute remedies. So these are some of the rules I've compiled. This is just a short thing I want to summarize into the second prescription. This is I think this is being compiled by one of the good practitioners, that is Dr. Farooq Master Sir. From his writings, I've noted this. He has compiled it from many different source books. So what he says is, rule 1 is, when the patient says, I feel better, you need to wait. Even when a clear picture of a new remedy appears, do not give any remedy. As a homeopath, you should start from the idea that a feeling of well-being means the patient has improved. So this is the one rule. Don't wait till the patient is feeling better. Feeling better. So rule 2 is, never give a remedy when you don't get a clear picture. When you are in a doubt, don't give any remedy. When the body is developing new signs and symptoms, wait and let it develop all the new signs and symptoms, which will give us a clear picture, and then we'll prescribe the new similar remedy selected on the basis of case. Never give a new remedy as long as the homeopathic picture is changing. Never give a new remedy when the picture is changing. Once you get the clear picture, then only change that remedy or give a new remedy or repeat the last remedy. Rule 4, do not be hasty, do not be hurried to give something whenever an old symptom is appearing. See, we are just revising what I have told you before. So this is just a summarized thing, that you should know these rules, that do not be hasty to give something whenever an old symptom is appearing. Whenever the patient feels better, you can be 100% sure that the remedy is working well. The next rule is, never give a new remedy when a discharge or skin eruption is appearing. This is a very beautiful thing Dr. Farooq has mentioned in his writing, that this we see in so many practice, that patient was affected with some of the disease, lung problems, asthma is there, something is there in the vital organ, and now he is developing some skin infection after my remedy. This is such a beautiful this is such a beautiful symptom being seen in the follow-up, and whenever I see that symptom or skin symptom in my follow-up, I feel so happy that yes, now the patient is improving because psora is coming out, and psora is the mother of all diseases. So when psora comes out, when skin eruptions comes out, when the patient's skin is affected, that is the least vital organ, then you should know that this is a beautiful thing you are getting, because vital organs will be improving when the body will throw its bad part, the vital force will uh, put all its negativity or all its evil that is being said by Dr. Kent, that whatever evil was inside will come out of the body through skin. That is the most beautiful thing. So this should be a very good rule. This is the next rule is, when after the remedy most of the symptoms have disappeared, you have to wait. Even if the patient seems to have some remaining symptoms, please wait for a month and then only prescribe the next remedy. You need to judge yourself, the degree of suffering, and then you need to carefully prescribe. The next rule is, never give a new remedy when the symptoms move according to the law of cure. That is the Herring's law of cure. Never give a new remedy when the symptoms are improving from above downwards, within outwards, or in the reverse order of their appearance. Next rule is, never give a new remedy when the intensity or the frequency of the complaints diminish. Never give a new remedy. Never change a remedy that has worked well. Agar improvement, there has been a single improvement, never change the remedy. In case of any relapse, repeat the same remedy in the same potency. Agar same potency is not working, try to give a higher potency. But, or if needed, you can go for a lower potency also before leaving this remedy. You can go to 6 potency. I have seen aloes 30. In some cases, aloes 200 was not acting, and then I gave aloe 6, and it gave me perfect, great results. So this can be a rule. Never leave a good remedy that has done something good to the patient. Next rule is, don't antidote a bad homeopathic reaction with a homeopathic remedy. This may bring chaos to the case. So whenever there is a disturbing homeopathic reaction, just wait temporarily or ask the patient to drink a black coffee. Strong coffee you can go for. Don't antidote if the intensity of the symptoms is mild. The next rule Dr. Master has told us, if you repeat the remedy too quickly, you can disturb the action of the previous remedy and then thus spoil the case. So don't repeat it too equally. Keep the vigil eye whether the patient is improving or not. Only give a remedy when the organism asks for it. Not just because the patient is saying, give me a new remedy, don't give it. Just give when the vital force is asking for the right remedy. The next rule is, only repeat a remedy when that working well in case of complete relapse. So this means when the patient is back in the same state as when he visited you for the same first time, that which I told you firstly thing, that you can repeat the remedy. Repetition of remedies to be done when the relapse is 100%, all the old symptoms have appeared. In case of partial relapse, you can go for placebo. Prescribe in placebo. The placebo may give miracles. And the last rule is, when the case is evolving according to Herring's law, do not prescribe any remedy. Please do not prescribe any remedy. So do remember, you may fail, dear. You may fail sometimes when we have often acted too soon but never waited too long. So there are some practitioners who say, we have often acted too soon. I prescribe it immediately after the patient comes to me. I don't wait too long. You may spoil the case. You may fail. Knowledge must be there, but where to obtain this knowledge? Knowledge that this waiting is right is quite different from waiting for a fixed purpose. So do remember that you should have complete knowledge when to wait, when to prescribe, when to repeat. What is your purpose? What do you want to do with the patient? Do remember. Do not and the doctors who do not maintain good, careful records of the first visit, of the second visit, each time the patient visit, you should maintain careful records so that you will actually know the law of cure. So you should know manner of change taking place in the totality of symptoms and the return of image, like the old symptoms appearing. So these are the consequences of the first prescription. This we already discussed. A physician with no knowledge of dynamic medicine. Sometimes you may see a case, symptoms may call for phosphorus, and you think कि phosphorus 6 has served and no longer cure. When the picture comes back to the to unaltered, there is no change in the patient, there is absence of some or more symptoms, the remedy should never be changed. You should wait and watch if you think the right remedy was being given to you. These are some of the sayings by Dr. Kent. We can discuss if the time permits. Manish, do we have time? 5-10 minutes?
Yes, ma'am, you can continue.
Okay, fine. So these are some of the guidelines which Dr. Kent has said. If the first prescription was the right simillimum remedy, the symptoms will return. And the myasm which predisposes the child to recurrent attacks must be considered, and the anti-miasmatic should be given. Like, for example, he has quoted an example: when Western egg is complicated with the myasm, a single where when the patient comes for the first time, that time you may not find all the symptoms. They may be coming in the second visit, in the third visit even. So don't worry, there may be recurrent attacks and the anti-miasmatic remedy will follow well. Another example is if a rheumatism, or if there is a knee rheumatism goes to the heart, a remedy prescribed for one symptom, the remedy has done harm. If you think you will prescribe for rheumatism, that's it, that is not right. Go for the totality of the patient. If the remedy changes the general symptom image and the patient is growing worse, the question comes up: was the prescription only similar to a part of the image, or is the disease incurable? So there are two things when the patient comes to you with a different symptom image. So either the disease was incurable, the disease is being aggravated, or there was something different according to our remedy. So you should have knowledge of the disease, whether the disease is curable or incurable, which you are treating, or what, and the knowledge of your prescription also, whether the first prescription which you did brought in these symptoms. So accordingly, the true image will be formed for the second prescription, and you will prescribe the right remedy. The greatest sufferings may intervene. The greatest sufferings may intervene in the change of symptoms during progress of permanent recovery. And if such symptoms are disturbed by a new prescription or palliated by inappropriate medicine, the patient may never be cured. So do remember, guys, please don't prescribe after just after the first prescription. You may palliate the patient. You may prescribe wrong to the patient, and that patient may never become cured. So these are some of the sayings that Dr. Kent, but this is what already we have discussed. One thing is left, that whenever you are in doubt, wait. Whenever you are in doubt of anything, do wait, give placebo. This is the best remedy. Second best, actually, this is the best prescription. Go for Saclac, go for SL. So these are the few important tips which is being mentioned again in Dr. Kent's book. If the symptoms change, I change the remedy. This is one of the most detrimental things that can be done. The most detrimental thing which Dr. Kent has said is, if the symptoms change, I change the remedy. That is the worst. That is the physician has done worst to the patient. So do remember, if the symptoms change, don't change the remedy immediately. Change the remedy according to the new case taking, new case, new totality. So these are few of the cases which are being given, we'll discuss first this case, which is a practical aspect. We'll have a chat with people. I'll just open the chat. Wait. We'll have a discussion with the people. So what I am going to do is, a patient is having warts on the back of his hands. So what do you do? What do you do? When the patient is having warts on the back of his hand since last 1 year, what remedy you can think of? There are no more symptoms in the patient. This is a one-sided disease, and you cannot, you do not get local disease here, and you are not getting much symptoms, not much marked features. There may be some desire for sweets or something. So what do you do? We'll discuss the questions in the end, dear. Just answer right now. Please answer me. When the patient comes to you for what's on back of his hands, what is the remedy you will think about? Puja, okay. Any other remedy? Any other remedy? Puja, Dalkamara. Very good, Anmol. See, Natramure, very good. Natramure is also a very good remedy for back of for what's, but on the back, this red line symptom which comes in AIPGT exam also. So this is a red line symptom of Dalkamara, that is warts on the back of his hands. So yeah, nitric acid also good remedy for warts. Puja is there. Painless warts. Usually you will get the skin tags and warts as painless only. Dr. Ninga Reddy. So, well, I will tell you what happened is the patient was given first prescription as Dalkamara 30. This is just an example because of the paucity of symptoms you gave Dalkamara. So when the patient comes to you, the patient says to you that there is no change of remedy in any of the warts. What do you do? What you will do for the second prescription? There was no change in the patient. Go for the hypertensive, Dr. Raj. Okay. Yes, you can go for the hypertensive because this is again a very limited symptom you have. One-sided disease ki tarah this is feeling. So what was done by the doctor? Dalkamara 200 was prescribed again. So after 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks was given, he gave the hypertensive. So what you need to do as a doctor? You wait and watch. You will wait and watch. You will try higher potency. Still, if the patient is not showing any change, retake the case. Okay? So retake the case, and the new remedy which comes up, you need to prescribe. So when you wait and watch, there is no change in the patient. What happens is you retake the case, and the third thing you get to know is the patient. When you ask the patient says, what's first appeared on the right side, right hand, and then then they appeared on the left hand. So what is the remedy? What's first appeared on the right hand and then to the left, right to left? Which is the best remedy and the most common remedy which comes to everybody's mind from right to left? Very good, Dr. Vidhi. Lycopodium. Yes. So yes, Lycopodium is a very wonderful remedy for warts again. So though it's a deep acting remedy, so many masters have told that you should not start the case with Lycopodium, especially hypertensive. So the patient was given Lycopodium. After that, fourth prescription, what happened was the patient showed there appeared a small change in few of the symptoms. There were few symptoms which appeared more. The patient brought out more symptoms, that he had some history of that he's having joint pains now, something or the other. So you bring out the remedy and you prescribe Saclac for that time. You need to wait because there are small change in the few of these symptoms. Now, when the patient comes to you for the 5th time, there was no further change in size of the warts. There were no more changes seen in the case. And then what you need to do? Tell me. Dr. Promila, yes, you can give puja, and this is just an example. It depends on the case and the doctor and the patient who is coming to you. So you can choose it constitutional wise. You can choose it as per pathology also. So that depends on the doctor himself. So when there is no further change, case comes to a standstill. Either repeat the remedy or go for the higher potency of that remedy that has done good to the patient. See, mark my words. Repeat the remedy. Or if the repetition of the remedy is not showing any improvement, still the case is standstill, go for the higher potency of the remedy that has done something good to the patient. So Lycopodium 1 mg can be given, and the next time the patient would come to you with no warts. So this is just an example. This yes, Dr. Gauri, same medicine, same potency can be repeated. If there is no improvement, no further improvement with the same potency, go for the higher potency, because lycopodium already did some good to the patient. So don't change that remedy. That may be a similar remedy to the patient. So yes, you should know this. So you should remember that homeopathy is nothing if not true, and if true, the greatest accuracy of detail and method should be followed. You should be accurate and you should detail everything. It is fortunate that the physicians who repeat while the remedy is acting are such poor prescribers, or their death list would be enormous. So remember these words. It is fortunate that the physician who repeat while the remedy is already acting are the poor prescribers, or their death list would be enormous. So I hope my part is very much clear. So this is just a short thing I've downloaded from Google. I felt kind of funny ever since you gave me that prescription for those side effects. I got from the prescription you gave to handle the side effects of the surgery and everything the patient was feeling very much bad about. So here the patient is saying that he's improving, and here you go, this prescription should take care of that. Patient says that I'm feeling somewhat funny now, so go for placebo, don't prescribe him anything. This is just a small thing. So remember these points. We can also discuss more cases, but yes, we are short of time, so won't be discussing more cases by many stalwarts they have quoted. Dr. Kent has also quoted. So do remember all these points should not be done before studying the record fully. There should be no prescription before you study the record fully. You should consider the changes that occurred after the first prescription. You should not be in haste. You should give enough time for the first remedy to act. The early repetition or the continued giving of the medicine in chronic diseases especially will not give a chance for symptoms to come back, and you may miss out the rational second prescription. So thank you everybody. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you for so much for being such a patient audience. So I hope my part is clear. We can discuss the questions or the queries, whatever you have.
Okay, ma'am. So attendees.
Manish?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So attendees, if you have any doubt, you can put your questions in the chat box. Ma'am, one question is there. Can you see the chat box?
Yeah, I can see the chat box. There is a question in this example, if the hair fall was there because of the remedy, what would be the steps? So you were saying that the remedy brought in new symptoms like hair fall, like Dalkamara brought new symptoms. So there I already told, when the new symptoms are appearing, either wait for 6-7 days. This is an estimate. You can say that 7 days, whatever potency you have given, they will act. They can show symptoms. When drug proving, it is being taken care. Whenever you are proving a drug, so for 7 days, the medicine usually shows its features. So if it is a medicinal aggravation, if it's the medicinal symptoms due to Dalkamara, if the patient developed hair fall, it may subside by within 7 to 8 days. And if it's not subsiding, dear, take a new case. Maybe the patient, in the history of the patient, you may find out that the hair fall was there a few years back or some time back when the patient developed what. So you may reach to the old symptom, and then you may find out that Dalkamara was the right remedy or Puja is the right remedy, or you may take the case again, and then you find out that the correct remedy was you will find the correct second prescription after retaking the case. So any other questions? In case of LM potency, wait, I just... In case of LM potency, is it okay to repeat frequently? Yes, absolutely, Dr. Gauri. In case of LM potency, you can repeat half an hourly, 1 hourly. There won't be much aggravation seen. This is the beauty of using LM potency actually. So intercurrent remedy, Dr. Mumin, I think this recording would be available, Manish,
Yes,
on YouTube.
Yes, ma'am. Recording will be there, ma'am.
Dr. Momin, you can see the intercurrent remedy part again on the YouTube, but still for short, I will tell you intercurrent remedy. Whenever you see the patient is not improving with the right similimum, you think this is the best similimum, this nothing more better than can act. So you can think about, or you can go for intercurrent remedy like cipilinum in a syphilitic case, medurinum in a psychotic case, or sorinum in a psoric case, tuberculinum in a tuberculosis case, or carcinosin in a cancer case. Many remedies have been given. Basilinum in skin cases. So there are many times when the patient is not improving, give a dose of basilinum 200 or 1 m, and then give the similimum, and you will see that the patient will be cured using intercurrent. So any other question? Yeah, we have question. Ma'am, when the case is standstill and there is no change, why can't we wait for more days? As it has duration 40-50 days. See, dear, this will come with practice, with your experience, with your practical experience, when you will experience it for long. So when when the patient comes to a standstill, the case comes to a standstill, no changes there, why can't we wait for more days? You can wait, but actually when you talk about clinical practice, in reality, when you're sitting at a clinic, so and your patient is coming, he wants relief. Actually, he's coming to you for relief. You may give him theoretical explanations that it will take time. You may take 2 months, you may take 3 months, you may take 6 months, you may take 1 year to get better. But then at last you need to cure the patient. If you feel that waiting would be better, wait. If you feel that waiting won't be better, the patient is showing no change, the case is standstill, you can go for the things, repetition, change of remedy, whatever the case is allowing. Dr. Meka, I hope I'm clear to you. Dr. Sai Kiran is asking, in chronic cases, whether the first or second prescription plays a good role. Okay, thank you so much. I thought it's a question. So next, any other questions? What if the coming skin eruption is worsening the patient in spite of feeling better in chief complaint? What should we do? This is a very good question, dear Dr. Nandini. Yes, you are absolutely right. Wherever the patient gets affected on skin, whether he's having pimples, whether he develops any boil, whether he develops any itching, urticaria, or anything over the body, the patient will tell you that I am feeling very bad. This pimple is irritating me. This is doing this. This is doing that. So this is a very common thing which comes. You should do is you should tell the patient correctly as a homeopath, as a doctor, that you can explain him this thing that dear, this is maybe because of the remedy, because your lungs are improving, the body is bringing all bad things to your skin is the blessed vital organ, don't worry, you will get better, guarantee the patient that you will make him better, the skin marks won't be there, the patient won't have more pimples. This may be due to the medicine that the old acne are coming up, or old things are coming up. So yes, if I'll talk about one of my case, I was dealing with a case of PCOD. So the patient was better. She gave me a history of acne before, and now she was not having any acne. She was having amenorrhea and irregular menses complaints. So once I gave her medicine, I was prescribing her lycopodium 0/1 and 2, like I was prescribing her LM potency. So what happened was she developed acne. And she came to me and said that, doctor, this is worsening, I don't want these acne again, and I was having acne before also, and now they have started again. So I explained her very nicely that, dear, don't worry, this is a good thing that your old things are coming up, and you will actually cure, you will have improvement in your PCOD also because of this thing, and don't worry, these won't leave you marks, and these will be corrected by me only. So dear, you need to explain the patient well. And in fact, whenever you are dealing with skin cases, do tell the patient that you may have a slight aggravation. you may feel a slight aggravation. Whenever I'm dealing with psoriasis or some skin complaints, which may where the patient knows where the patient wants immediate relief, I already tell him that, dear, if you are getting some aggravation, don't worry, don't panic, don't get irritated. It may be due to the medicine. So tell the patient behalf. It will increase the trust of your patient. That doctor को तो पहले से ही पता था. Doctor knew already doctor already knew कि my symptoms would aggravate. That means he was right. He's giving the right thing. That would increase the trust of your patient as well. So any other queries? Manish, I think I missed many questions. We can discuss the. We can discuss. Can you tell me a few
Yes,
questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I am speaking since long, so if you will speak, people won't get bored.
Okay, ma'am.
So,
When to give second remedy if first remedy fails, ma'am?
then to give the second remedy, if the first remedy fails, as soon as you realize that the first remedy has failed, take the case again, form the new totality, prescribe the remedy, new simillimum. As soon as you feel that you are not on the right track, change the remedy. Don't worry.
Okay, ma'am. Another question is there. Cifilinum 10M turned out to be too high.
What would to be done?
Uh,
I think you should leave if the intensity was less, patient symptoms intensity was less. Leave him for a week. The aggravation would subside or the symptoms would subside. If the symptoms are not subsiding, ask him to take a strong coffee. He'll be relieved. Don't prescribe antidote in vain, because after intercurrence, because this may be a good thing if the patient. If the patient is aggravated after a cifilinum, so maybe a good thing also it can be there. Go for cifilinum 201M rather than just going for 10M, I would suggest. So 1M acts good. Halaki, this is true that nosodes don't act much in low potency. They're very less. They like act less in low potency, but 201M is very good. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. One more question is there. How do you know when to give complementary medicine or cognates?
Okay. So I think Dr. Samiksha has asked. So okay, when you are asking when do you when do we know this is to be given the complementary? See, guys, when you are when you prescribe the remedy and the same remedy is being given, like I gave Belladonna and the patient tonsils got better, but after a month he came back to me again. Belladonna was given, the patient was not better. I tried for hypertensive Belladonna 1M, one single dose I gave. The patient was better. He came back again after 3 weeks that he's having again recurrent episode of tonsillitis, or after 2 months. So this is the time when you get to know that the remedy is not complete, and that there is a need of another remedy, another related remedy to belladonna that may form complete cure. This has given partial cure to the patient. So for complete cure, you need to give the complementary remedy. As soon as you realize that the patient is coming up again and again, and there is recurrence of symptoms, the symptoms are improving, but not at that level that they should to declare the patient as cured. So you can go for complementary or cognate remedy at that moment. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. One more question is there. Without proper understanding, if we changed correct simillimum of first prescription to another remedy in second prescription, can we repeat the first prescription remedy in third prescription?
No, no. You cannot repeat the same first prescription again. If you have changed the remedy, if you think first remedy give after एक बारी repeat करना first remedy के बाद what he said is
Yes,
the second remedy was wrong.
Okay, ma'am. Without proper understanding, if we change
Okay.
correct, yes, ma'am.
I got it. Without proper understanding, if you give the second prescription and second prescription is being given, that is not also benefiting to the patient, and you think that the first remedy was right. don't give that remedy. I will just tell you, don't give that remedy. What you do is retake the case again. If you think after retaking the case, the first remedy is coming again in this again as the simillimum, prescribe it. But if you think another remedy is much better than the first prescription, go for that remedy. Don't give the first remedy blindly without taking the case again.
Okay, ma'am. Another last question is there, ma'am. Pulsatilla 200 can be an antidote for any homeopathic wrong remedy.
See, to be true, I don't remember for sure that what is the antidote of pulsatil, pulsatil antidotes, which remedy. You can get it in the relationship section. I'm so sorry for this, but you can text me. I'll cross verify from the books, and then I will tell you, Dr. Swati. But I will just guide you that if you think you want to antidote remedies, like there are few remedies like camphor is there, which antidote all the vegetable remedies. There are many other remedies which antidote other remedies. Coffea is there, coffea antidotes, Nux vomica antidotes, sulfur antidotes, many Lachesis antidotes, many other remedies. So these are the relationships which I also keep on revising, because there are so many things to memorize in Materia Medica that you cannot remember all the things. So Nux vomica, okay. It's Tanum. Somebody is answering it's Tanum or Nux vomica. So do cross check, Dr. Swati. That pulsatilla can. I think I also remember pulsatilla or camphor can antidote Nux vomica. Maybe it's given in Nux vomica in Allen's. So yes, you can think about it. You can take. So you can cross verify the knowledge with Materia Medica and then answer. Your texting number, I will just type in the chat box. Okay. Any other questions, Manish?
Ma'am, I think questions will be keep coming, ma'am. You can provide your email ID, ma'am, and your number. So
Yeah.
participants having any further questions, they can contact through that, ma'am.
Just give me a WhatsApp if I don't pick up your call. Give me a WhatsApp. I've typed my uh, contact number as well as email ID in the chat box. It's Dr. Yashika Arora @gmail.com, and you can WhatsApp me at 7827805347. So you can WhatsApp. I will revert to you as soon as possible.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, if you permit now, can we conclude the session?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everybody enjoyed this session, and you guys too. And thank you so much, Alva College Principal Sir, Roshan Sir, Maha Zakaria Ma'am, and everybody, Manish, Saikiran, everyone who's been working so hard. I see you guys, and I see my UG. In you people, it's always good to see your juniors becoming so passionate for homeopaths and working so hard for homeopathy. It always feels so good, and it feels so proud that we have our generation which is coming up is such motivated generation who are going to do good for homeopathy. So I get inspired from you guys. So thank you so much for being always so supportive and always giving me the opportunity, or being in touch with me. Stay connected always. I would just request everybody, because if we guys are united, we homeopaths are united, and we the young generation, this is National Youth Week going on, I think. So we young generation, if we guys are united together, all the homeopaths, so nobody can stop us for bringing homeopathy to one of the best science all over the world. So I would just recommend this thing. Thank you, Dr. Deepu, for being for attending this session. I got your comment. Thank you, Saikiran. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, audience, for your patient listening. Thank you, Manish. I hand over to you. I'm done.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, Hania, you can proceed with the word of thanks. Over to you, Hania.
I, on behalf of Alvas Homeopathic Medical College and Student Council, extend a very hearty thanks to Dr. Yashika Arora for gracing us for the second time too. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. It was really enlightened. Thank you so much for your valuable time for imparting knowledge to us. Thanks to Edwin Naturals for the generous sponsorship and involvement. Our heartfelt thanks to all the attendees for the active participation. See you all next day. Good night, everyone.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, once again. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you to all the attendees.
Thank you, Alva. Thank you, Advin. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Manish.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.